Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today there's actually been a slight tweak to the schedule. I was originally going to bring to you guys a review of an amazing exclusive going on with one of my favorite retailers. I decided to move that over to Sunday and bring you a review from one of my other favorite retailers, Blade Ops. And we're going to keep it all American today, talk about this Protech that is I'm falling in love with. But first, before we talk about knives or anything else, it's Veterans Day. So if you are a veteran watching this video, a sincere and heartfelt thank you goes out to you for your service and sacrifice for our country. And if you guys know a veteran today, be sure to reach out and wish them a happy Veterans Day. Just tell them thank you. Buy them a beer, buy them a coffee, shake their hand, do something. Let them know that they're appreciated, because in this amazing country we live in, we have so many great freedoms. One of those is the freedom of speech. And I think sometimes that freedom of speech can come off like we don't always notice and appreciate our veterans the way we should. Please know your service is never going to go unnoticed, and it's never going to go unappreciated. So thank you again for that, and I hope your day is great. So now we can talk about this amazing American-made Protech that I am falling in love with. And I've talked enough already. Let's get into this knife and take a look at it. And what it is here is very big. It is the Protech Whiskers. And I gotta say, I wasn't sure about this one, because you guys know I love Protech. I like the Magic Whiskers. I think there's the Magic Whiskers and this is the Whiskers. I'm not sure on the exact description of this knife, but I'm pretty sure it's just the Protech Whiskers. That's what it says here anyway. But what it is a big knife. Before we get into size comparisons, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 8.62 inches, a blade length of 3.75 inches. Blade thickness on this guy is 130 thousandths, and blade material, you don't really usually see it. There's really definitely more diversity within the steel lineup of Protech now, but this is 154 cm. And we are looking at a spear point style blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.87 inches, a handle thickness at 500 thousandths. As usual, aluminum on the handle material with a user of a right hand only tip of carry. Weight coming in at 4.88 ounces, designed by Mike Whiskers Allen, and a price of $360. Now, I will admit, I feel like sometimes size comparisons aren't really that helpful, because you usually just have a good idea of how big a knife is. This one you need size comparisons for, because even if you told me all this stuff before I looked at it, I was still very surprised at how just big this knife was in general. So we're gonna keep it all American made with all of the size comparisons today in honor of our veterans. And let's see here. This is the Microtech SOCOM Elite, and as you can see, pretty much the same size as the Elite and the PM2. Let's slide that down a little. We don't want to hide that amazing Blade Ops logo. Yeah, it's a big knife. It's definitely one of the bigger Protechs that I've ever handled. And we'll get to handles here in just a second, because the handles are something to behold. Very nice ergos on this guy. Bring out a couple other Protech models to line it up with those. Here is the Mordax, and it's considerably bigger than the Mordax, and it's considerably bigger, of course, than the Malibu, because the Malibu is smaller than the Mordax. I think we all know that. And there we go. There's your size comparisons. This is a big, beautiful knife, what we have here. And first, before we talk about those awesome ergos, let's talk about this blade, because it's a big blade, 3.75 inches, one of the biggest Protech blades I've ever handled. It has this really nice, just continuous, ever so slight belly, not a big drastic belly, but a constant curve to the sharpened edge. And I think it looks absolutely great. Behind the edge reading at 24 thousandths. So it's a wide blade too. So a wide blade with a tall flat grind coming down to 24 thousandths. It's a pretty nice blade, pretty slicey. No issues there at all in the blade department. And the handle is really obviously where all the magic is, but it's also where some phenomenal ergos are. And again, for a non-contoured handle, we got to kind of keep this into perspective here, what we're talking about. They're flat aluminum scales. I don't know if I've ever held a flat aluminum scale that felt this good, because it's just the perfect combination of width and thickness and that curve to the handle, the long handle, that little dip right there for your index. It feels amazing. Like, it feels right at home in this hand. And I think it would for a lot of people, because it's made for big hands and I think small hands. You can also choke up and use it in a choked up position just as well. It just feels great. And this is also one of the very few Protech models to where in the past I've kind of criticized them on their clip sizes. I feel like sometimes their clips are just way too big for some knives. This is definitely the biggest clip they put on their knives, and I think it's like perfect for this knife because it's such a long handle. It just, the aesthetics, they just all balance out. It feels good. There's like zero hot spot. And the way this clip works, there's actually a slight little bend as the clip comes down. So it feels like almost non-existent. Like, it just feels extremely well. So I love that. And another really, really nice detail that can't go unnoticed, especially due to how this knife opens, are the milling lines back here. Some really, really precise milling lines. And what that does, they provide a lot of little bite on your palm. So when you go to close it, you just push it like that. And of course, they're up here too. So the two areas where you have to really put the pressure on to close or open the blade, you really, really notice that. You don't really notice it until you know it's there. And then once you put your finger down there, you kind of feel it. And as much as it bites your finger, you have to know that it's playing a big factor in biting wherever your skin is, so your hand's not sliding instead of pushing. So very nice little detail down there. You don't always see extreme fine milling like this on Protech, so really like seeing that, and in a very, very effective place too. Really nice touch there. And of course, you have your nice little hidden lanyard hole back here. So if you're into lanyards, that's like about as good as it can be done right there without having to have any gaudy holes or anything. So all the details on this guy, and I love this blue. It's a nice shade of blue. In the black, of course, that pairs very well together. So it's just a very, very solid model from blade to handle and ergos and all the details. It's all there. It's all there for $360. They're really not missing much. The one thing that I do want to specify that I think is very important to know with this knife is it has a very powerful deployment, and it's really important. I've noticed, I've opened this so many times now. The amount of tension you have on the pivot screw here, you have to really tweak that to perfection, because if you don't, you can have a blade or you can have an action that can be really muddy, really slow, because too much pressure, too much tension on the screw will make for very slow, not really that enjoyable deployment. I can actually get this just a little snappier too. You can really loosen the action up on this to where the blade flies out, and it's so good. But if you get it too loose, your blade centering will go off. And as you can see, this blade right now is centered pretty much perfectly. Don't really have any issue with the blade centering. But again, if you don't put something in here with the force and firing power of this blade, I've noticed that the screw will come loose on you if you don't put something in there. So I just recommend the glue stick style Loctite, just a little bit in the threads, find that perfect tension, and then maybe let it sit for a day and let that glue kind of just set, and not glue, but Loctite, the blue Loctite, glue stick style is what I meant. I'm sure probably all of you know what that is. And I'll try and have it linked below here. If there's an Amazon link, I'll throw a link down there to check it out, because I use it a lot, but it comes in really, really handy for this knife, because it's very important to get that the tightness of the pivot screw there perfect, and then keep it that way. If you keep it that way, this will be one of your most enjoyable knives in your collection, because like I said earlier, I'm in love with this thing. I love the action. I personally like this a lot more than the other Whiskers model, which is much smaller, and you kind of just, it has a bolster release to where you slide the bolster back. Instead of sliding the bolster back, obviously, as you can see here, what's happening is you're pushing the bottom of the handle out this way. And I'll just do it with my hand. It just kicks it out like that. And as you can see, that is the lock right here. It's a back lock that kind of releases the blade, the spring, and then swings the blade out. So pretty simple in how it works, but Not something you would exactly know right away if you didn't, obviously know how it works. But very, very fun to do. Very easy. I wasn't sure how easy this would be, but again, with that milling, with the size and shape of the handle, it's effortless, like absolutely effortless. And then you just have to break the lock and close the blade. So it's a joy. I love it. It's easily one of my favorite Protech automatic knives. Like it's up there and I would probably say the top 2 or 3. Like I love the size, love the length, love this long slicey blade. It is phenomenal. I'll definitely be buying one at some point. I just want to wait for my perfect version to hop on. But that's it. That is the Protech Whiskers, guys. Let me know what you think of this. And I would highly suggest this one. Of all the Protechs, if you want to spend a little more and get something different, something that's almost like it's almost like a fun conversational piece just because of how it opens and the lock style. It's really, really good. Love it a whole lot. The Protech Whiskers, guys, let me know what you think of this. All you veterans out there, go have a kick-ass day. Thank you again for your service to our country. That's it, guys. Enjoy your Saturday. And until the next one, I'm out.